Ladies and gentlemen, this came out on Quartz Africa, November 29th, 2019. Can you believe the Africans are still demanding their art back and the Europeans don't want to return it? There should be no battle. It's stolen. It was looted out of Africa by the Europeans. It needs to be returned. You know, these folks got this thing about keeping things they're not entitled to. You know, it just must be in the DNA or something. The battle to get Europe to return thousands of Africa's stolen artifacts is getting complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. You know, what the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, the bulk of the art in these museums in Europe is African art. Damn near the whole museum is predominantly all African art. So if they return this art, the museums will be empty practically. And nobody goes to the museums to look at some European art. Are you kidding me? Did you see some of that Roman art? That shit looks disturbing. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there should be no battle. This stuff needs to be returned, period. And you know how these folks are. Every time you want your stuff back or you want something done, well, where are you going to put it? That's none of your business. Just send it back. What these people do with that art once it's returned, that's on them. What the hell do you care? You stole the shit. Send it back. In 1890, the French staged a bloody siege of the Seagull Royal Palace, the capital of Tutelar Empire that spanned modern-day Guinea, Senegal, and Mali. The siege and the violent capture of the city, and I believe this is the siege where the king and his sons were beheaded. And actually, as disgusting as this may sound, y'all, there are photos of them with their heads. I know it's sick as hell. The siege and the violent capture of the city of Borgo. I'm going to have to go look at, I'll look that up later because I would like to see that city, where it is. So sorry for the pronunciation. In 1890 marked the end of the Tutelar Empire and the transfer of the region to French colonial rule. Yeah, and the place has sunk since. In addition to the loss of lives and the destruction of property, the French officials plundered over 1,000 pieces of significant cultural heritage to the people, including the saber of the founder of the empire, El Hajj Omar Tal. Almost 130 years later, the saber that bears a specific symbolic, cultural, and spiritual significance has finally been returned to Senegal in a very emotional handover ceremony that saw his ancestral family travel from various parts of West Africa to witness this historic moment. It was a moment of victory for the descendants of the anti-colonial hero who have been demanding the return of his artifacts since 1944. The artifacts include a saber, manuscripts, jewels, are mostly spread out across 3 of France's largest museums, stolen, and then displaying it like it's theirs. Look, there is a rising across this earth among the melanated family. And you're going to hear more and more of people. They want their reparations. They want their belongings back. They want compensation. And these voices are not going to go away. This is your future. Get used to it. Up to 90% of sub-Saharan Africa material cultural legacy is outside of the continent, and that should not be the case, according to the French government commission, a 2018 report, the Senegalese economic Felwine Sarr, and the French historian Benedicte Savoy. The report calls for the restitution of Africa's stolen assets, highlighting that most of these were looted by European colonial powers, stolen during ethnographic missions, or acquired under questionable conditions in various markets. So, in other words, thievery. Okay? Thievery. Yeah, so much for earning shit, right? See, this is why everything is slipping away, because everything you got is not on solid foundation. While the public debate has mostly focused on African art, reparation, and past various elements of African cultural heritage, this includes art and archives, ceremonial objects, human remains, natural history specimens, and intangible cultural heritage like sound recordings and photographs. The best scenario figure for the number of artifacts any national museum archives in sub-Saharan Africa is 3,000, and even then, most of them are of little importance or significance when compared to those in European museums. Don't ever trade African art for European art. Don't ever do that. The African art is of much greater value. That's why they don't want to give it up. You notice that? They don't want to give up African art. In fact, it was some story that came out last year where they gave one of the African nations an artifact from Europe and they said, come back and get it. We don't want this. I don't blame them. They don't want it. So, how many artifacts are in Europe's top museums? Musée Royale de l'Afrique Centrale, Belgium. They got 180,000 pieces of art from Africa. Humboldt Forum, Germany, 75,000 pieces of art. Musée du Quai Branly, Jacques Chirac, France, 70,000 African pieces of art. British Museum, 69,000. And Welt Museum of Vienna, Austria, 37,000. Yeah, see, if you remove all of those pieces, the damn museum's going to be empty. Okay? And besides, nobody goes to a museum to stare at European art. I mean, it's the truth. Nobody goes there to look at European art. You know, that exchange where they gave them European art so they could try to keep African art, that's like giving somebody a toilet. Since the release of the report, no objects have been returned to the countries they are from. A recent $15 million 4-year initiative by George Soros' Open Society hopes to spur momentum in reparation efforts through legal, financial, and technical support to governments, regional bodies, museums, universities, and civil societies. Concerted efforts and significant funding are needed to support claims for restitution as communities demanding their looted items will undoubtedly come up against legal hurdles, such as in inalienability of public French art collection. No, it shouldn't be no legalities. How come there was no legalities when you looted it out of Africa? But now when they want it back, there's some leak. Get out of here. Y'all full of shit. For real. This simply means there are laws stating any public French art collections belong to the state and cannot be given back. That's bullshit. So in other words, you stole the art and then you wrote laws trying to keep the art, making it legal for you to keep it. These people, whoa, these people are the ultimate thieves. This is the convenient legal barrier that has prevented countries and communities that have been asking for their treasured assets from getting them back. No, you should not be writing laws to protect your stolen items. But I guess when you really look at the whole scheme of things, isn't that what they have done all along? Steal the shit and then write a law saying it's illegal to take the shit back. Woo, you can't find a bigger thief. So artifacts in a Paris museum, Brantley, Chad, has 9,296 pieces of art in Paris. Cameroon, 7,838 pieces of art. Madagascar, 7,590 pieces of art are in Paris. Mali, 6,910 pieces of art. Ivory Coast, 3,951 pieces of art in Paris. They done took from every damn body. Benin, 3,157 pieces of art. Congo and Brazzaville, 2,593 pieces of art. Gabon, 2,448 pieces of art in Paris. Senegal, 2,281 pieces of art, and Guinea, 1,997 pieces of art in Paris. If you took all of that out of their museum, you know damn well that museum gonna be empty. Europeans don't have art like that. Come on, y'all. They don't. I used to live over there. They don't have no art like that. Not like that. Not that many pieces. For the past 3 years, Benin has been officially asking France back for the return of anthropomorphic, half human, half animal statues that were looted during the sacking of the Ambome Palace in 1892. Listen to that, y'all. Palaces. They went into palaces and stole the art out of it. Well, what happened to the mud huts and all that shit y'all be talking about? Palaces. Always remember that, y'all, because they lie about Africa all the time. In fact, they lie on melanated people in general. Palaces. They went into a palace and took this art. The statues have both a spiritual and historic value for Benin and are irreplaceable pieces for cultural property and heritage. That's why they don't want to give it back. They don't want them to have that spiritual connection to anything. These statues are part of 26 artifacts of 5,000 artifacts Benin has requested from France. Y'all, just imagine somebody broke in your house and they took your belongings. And now you're trying to get your belongings back from the thief. And the thief is trying to do everything they can to hang on to what doesn't belong to them. See, these Europeans have stolen from Africa's house. And then the thief turned around and made laws to keep the loot. Oh, y'all, you can't make it up. So much for pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You can't pull yourself up unless you got something that belongs to others. That's really pathetic. Their requests have been in the past, been continuously declined, with France stating that they are now part of French cultural property and heritage. No, it isn't. It's still Africa art. You didn't create the art. The art did not originate from you. It was not your property. So, no, it is not part of French cultural property and heritage. Y'all came up with that in efforts to keep whatever you stole. And the French people wouldn't be nothing without Africa. Nothing. So, of course, if they stole from royalty everywhere else, they stole from royalty in Ethiopia. So, the British Army took their sticky fingers through there and grabbed up everything, 1868. And last year, the country got a sort of bittersweet response to their request for the return of artifacts, including a gold crown and a royal wedding dress, which were taken during the Battle of Magdala. Here they are. Britain's Victoria and Albert Museum agreed to return certain artifacts as part of a long-term loan. Loan? Loan? Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, they don't want to give shit back. I understand why, because their museums literally would be nothing without this art. It wouldn't be anything. The Battle of Magdala rose from a British military expedition to secure the release of British hostages taken by Emperor Tewodros II. The British victory culminated in the emperor's suicide and the destruction of his fortress. Listen to that, y'all. They didn't say mud hut, they said fortress. Usually, if you have a fortress, you got a palace. Hundreds of artifacts were plundered from Magdala, with the emperor's treasury being emptied, and 15 elephants and 200 mules needed to transport the looted assets. 15 elephants and 200 mules? They cleaned the place out, didn't they? Felwine Sarr, the co-author of the Restitution Report, states that the path to restitution is not an easy one, but a vital one in the process of decolonization. Challenges that will be faced, including European countries putting up roadblocks to restitution, but also the need to engage African citizens in the discussion. People first need to know what was taken from them. Then they will realize that this is not an elite discussion, but one that concerns them, their history, their heritage, their legacy. Exactly. Why do Europeans want to hang on to somebody else's history? Seriously, why do y'all want to hang on to somebody else's history? So, ladies and gentlemen, most of this art was done by the Dahomey. The Dahomeys were Israelites. They know what this art is, and they know all of the history behind it, and they are clinging on to it for dear life, as you can see. Ladies and gentlemen, please tell me what you think. I'm sorry about the pronunciation and with some of the African names, not my tongue. But ladies and gentlemen, please tell me what you think. These pieces were done centuries ago, and it looks better than some of the art that you see today. And it also shows you who had the real talent on this planet. Look at people over in Europe desperate to hang on to art done by Black people. They are desperate to hang on to art done by Black folks, y'all. Always remember that. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. And you know what else, y'all? This art is worth more than theirs. It is. This art is by far, number one, it's ancient. Number two, this art is authentic. It's not a draw over pictures, and it's not fakery. It's the real authentic thing. Real and authentic, and done hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It's more valuable than European art. And that's another reason why they're clinging on to it so hard. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.